Hey, Bulls and Bears, what is happening? It is Friday, Good Friday. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter weekend to everyone that celebrates. Back with another dose of economic reality. The markets are closed today, but we've got a lot to talk about, folks. Now, one of the big subjects and topics here is how do we navigate this economy here where we see so much debt, now rising prices everywhere you look. How do we prepare? How do we invest? All of the above. Well, the way everything's looking, I would suggest, and I don't want to make any recommendations, I don't give financial advice, but what I'm doing is preparing for both scenarios, right? We're going to continue to see inflation unless something else happens to pull the rug out from under this financial system. And that means no more QE, no more money printing. That might be what, a blackout scenario, a big hack that takes down the entire financial system. Global blackout, global chaos could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but without something drastic changing this banking system, you're going to continue to see rising prices. Either way, it's going to be dangerous, whether it's continued inflation or some massive collapse where the plug gets pulled on the entire system and everything goes dark. And there have been warnings of hacks and compromising of systems, including the financial system, the even the power grid. There's threats and talks of attacks and stuff like that. So prepare for everything. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just saying that there is a possibility of these things happening. But the bankers, they need a scapegoat. They need a reason or somebody or something to blame for this entire system coming down. Because if they pull back on the stimulus, if they stop buying securities and they allow rates to rise, well, they're going to get blamed for the what's to come, which is going to be a very severe economic correction if they continue to do what they're going to doing. And I'm talking about letting rates rise, trying to unwind their balance sheet, stopping the purchases of securities and bonds, especially mortgage-backed securities, right? So they're going to need something to blame, someone to blame. And it's not just me saying that. Take a look at who else is saying that. Christopher Harvey from Wells Fargo. He is saying you need bad actors for a recession. And we don't see that right now. There's no bad actors. Everyone is on the up and up. Everyone is, doing the right thing. There's no one out there doing any bad thing. They're not printing too much money. There's no entity out there causing harm to the financial system. There's no entity out there blowing bubbles or keeping the bubbles inflated. So essentially, there's no one to blame. There's no bad actors. And what he talks about here in this interview is that in previous downturns and recessions and collapses or corrections, there has been something or someone to blame. Look at 2008. It was the banks, remember? The banks, they loaned out too much money. They were reckless. They weren't smart, and they loaned out money to people that shouldn't have gotten these mortgages. Remember all the subprime mortgages? It's the bank's fault. We're still going to bail out the banks, of course, because they're too big to fail, but it's the bank's fault, those darn banks. I hope they don't do this again. Fast forward here now, 2022, the banks did exactly what they did back then, just a little bit differently. I shouldn't say exactly, but a little bit differently. But we're in more debt now. Debt is higher now than what it was back then. And not just the total debt, just because there's more people, the average debt per person is even higher. But according to Mr. Wells Fargo here, Christopher Harvey, there's no bad actors. All right, so let that sink in. The bubbles now are bigger than they were before the financial crisis. Prices are more disconnected now than they were during the financial crisis, but there's no bad actors. So no one caused this. This was all just rolling the dice. It was all just a flip of the coin. This is just pure coincidence that this is happening right now. It has absolutely nothing to do with the $9 trillion balance sheet of the money printers. It has nothing to do with a certain group keeping interest rates too low for too long. It has nothing to do with taking away all reserve requirements from the bank, allowing banks to loan out endless amounts of money. It has nothing to do with that. Everything that we're seeing now, these home prices, these levels in the stock market have just everything to do with fundamentals. It's all fundamentally based. There's no bad actors. Remember that. That's what they want you to believe. So if someone from Wells Fargo says that, it must be true, right? Next, let's talk about the work at home situation. You're not going to believe this. I work at home, and I'm happy to work at home, but there's companies now having a hard time getting people to go back to the office. Let's take a look at this. Return to office. Companies offering free alcohol to lure employees back. Now, my question is, do they want to lure employees back and actually be productive employees? Or do they want a bunch of hungover people in the office? And that's if they make it to the office. I hope these people are not going to be drinking and driving to work after getting all this free alcohol. Now, during the lockdowns and work at home, alcohol sales were through the roof. It was one thing that didn't drop off. It actually increased. People at home, people taking time off equals, hey, let's have a few drinks. So now, this is a real article. Companies are luring people back into the office with free bottles of alcohol. Didn't I tell you things are getting strange? Let's take a look more into this article. And they're proposing the idea here. What if the alcohol was part of a reward system? Say you did a good job. You did something that is worthy of a shot. Can we just bring shot o'clock into the office on a reward basis? Why not? Why not bring shot o'clock into the office? Well, how are these people going to drive home? Are they taking public transportation? And why would you want to lure people back to the office when gas prices are so high? This is ridiculous. A lot of people are just sitting in their offices on Zoom meetings, the same thing they could do at home. And if they decide to take a shot, they'll be safer at home because they don't have to drive. You get it? You get where I'm coming from? This is just wacky, but this is a real article from Yahoo Finance. All right, are you ready for the next wacky piece of news? I think it's wacky. Some people might think it's really cool, but let's take a look at this. A 4-day work week being proposed in California. And this is a new bill that, if passed, companies that operate in California are going to have to offer their California staff a 4-day work week, meaning 4 8-hour days, 32 hours. And anything more than 4 days would be considered overtime, or anything more than 32 hours. What is being proposed under AB-2932 would officially shorten the work week from 40 to 32 hours for companies with more than 500 employees. Now, on the surface, this sounds really good, but people in California typically have a very high cost of living. I live here, I know that. And with one less work day, people are going to have a very difficult time affording it here in California. So then you say, okay, they can just volunteer to work the extra day. Well, are companies going to want to pay overtime or time and a half for over 32 hours? Well, a lot of them probably won't. So what are they going to do? They're going to probably send a lot of jobs to other states. And we've already seen an exodus, a lot of companies leaving California. To me, this is just going to make it worse. It's going to make more companies want to get out of California and open up offices in Arizona, Nevada, and some of these other states. Texas, we see huge jobs leaving California going to Texas. So to me, it's going to be another dagger in the California economy's heart, if you ask me. Please let me know what you think down below, especially if you're in California. Is this 4-day work week a good thing, or is it going to cause more harm than it's going to be beneficial? Please let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks everybody. Let me know what you think about all this stuff down in the comments. Let me know if you heard the audio good, and hopefully everybody has a good weekend. Going to be a busy weekend in my household. May not see you until next Monday. We'll see how it plays out, though. We might see you before that. But either way, thanks everybody for being here. Big love. Peace.